Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is while you're watching this recording. It is 7:05 here in Mexico City. We would like to welcome you to one more webinar from the CMIC and FIB in North America. We always seek to provide continuous education and to provide something that interests all of the interpreters, something that's for us and by us. This is a topic that has been incredibly important, and we are all very concerned about this. What's going to happen? Translators are being replaced by artificial intelligence every day, and now we're becoming people who just review documents. So we are one step away. How can we compete and combat this? For this reason, we have a guest here today. Tanya is going to introduce him to you. And this person is going to talk to us about artificial intelligence in interpreting. Is it our friend? Is it our enemy? What is artificial intelligence? But also, he will be speaking about something that is very important to all of us. Every day we are working more online, hybrid, on our devices, from something as simple to from a smartphone to our computers. But we are exposed when we connect ourselves to the network to insecurity. And that's what we are dealing with today: artificial intelligence and cybersecurity in interpreting. Without further ado, I hand over the microphone to Tania Saldivar so that she can introduce our guests today. I love that these are people that are young millennials, are taking the world by storm. They know everything about this topic, and we can depend on them for this. Maybe we can teach them a few other things when it has to do with interpreting and translation, but it's very important that we have young people among us, and I would like to thank them. Tanya will tell you the name of our guest, and from the moment that I contacted him, he said, yes, I am on board. All right, Tanya. Thank you, Sergio. Once again, welcome everyone. And I would like to remind you that we have interpreting in French, English, Portuguese, and Mexican Sign Language. You can select the language that you prefer. And I would like to present you to Sebastian Ibarra. He is an engineer in cybernetics, and he is here to talk to us, as Sergio mentioned, on everything that has to do with artificial intelligence and the proper use so that we can have correct security, cybernetic security. Welcome, Sebastian. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Sergio. Good evening to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the CMIC and FIB in North America for having me here with you. These topics, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, is something that affects all of us right now, whether we're interpreters, engineers, doctors, no matter what we do. The future is here, and we have to live with it. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I need access to share my screen, please. It says I can't share it. There you go. Thank you very much. Can you confirm that you can see my screen? And a quick question. Do you see the controls, or do you just see the presentation? Just the presentation. Okay, perfect. So for this seminar, I titled it Good Practices for Artificial Intelligence and Cybersecurity in Interpretation. And I'm going to share the mantra for this session, and it's the following. Cybersecurity is the responsibility of everyone. I'm going to repeat it. Cybersecurity is the responsibility of all of us. Why? Because before we start, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am an engineer in industrial robotics, and I have worked in different companies that focus on automatization, digital. These are my pastimes. That's what I call my CV. And in my non-technical off time, I like to write, read, I like to go to the gym. And the next point is that I completely fail in communicating with extraterrestrials. And the next point is that I tell terrible jokes. How are we going to divide the session? We're going to divide it into 3 parts. The first one is going to be dedicated to artificial intelligence. The second one is going to be on cybersecurity. And then we're going to have a dynamic of Q&A where you can ask questions, or throughout the session, you can do so as well. So let us go ahead and begin on these very interesting topics. What is artificial intelligence? In the past few years, technology has advanced broadly. There are endless topics and definitions that have been assigned as artificial intelligence. But here's the thing, artificial intelligence is not just one thing. It is many different disciplines grouped together that simulate the behavior and the thoughts of human beings. It simulates it in order to automate tasks that used to. We're going to define artificial intelligence as a tool that carries out complex tasks that used to be carried out by humans. There are companies that we as people haven't yet adopted artificial intelligence in our favor 100%. But these tasks, we can see examples like data analysis or detecting tumors. Here you can see a tumor in the breast tissue. We can also see this in agronomy and farming. We monitor crops this way. What is this useful for? When we monitor crops, we can determine what is the exact moment that we need to water them, fumigate them, or carry out any other activities that are necessary that might be tedious or exhausting or maybe even dangerous. We also have maps, navigation. This is one of my favorite ones. Maybe it's because when I learned how to drive, GPS already existed. So I don't have the initiative, because I don't want to have it, to get lost. When I'm driving, because when I go somewhere, it doesn't matter if the location is 1 or 3 kilometers away. By default, I start my GPS. I have no sense of adventure when it comes to discovering new streets. We also have facial detection. Currently, it works as a key for unlocking our phones, for example. I would like to define it as a layer of security in banking applications, for example. We also have social media, social networks. Nowadays, who does not have them? So how is artificial intelligence implemented in social networks? It is implemented with algorithms of recommendation and search. What does that mean? I don't know if it has occurred to you that sometimes you're looking at a publication on any social networking site, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. YouTube is also a social network. You're looking at a publication, a video, and you say, I like this. When you click on the thumbs up, the algorithm automatically makes the application show you similar content to that which you already said you liked. So if you said you liked a dog video, mysteriously, more dog videos are going to start appearing for you. And something similar occurs with platforms like Netflix. If we watch shows or movies of a specific genre, the same thing occurs. The application shows us content that is similar to what we've already liked. We also have text editors. These are incredible tools for you as translators and interpreters. For me, as a cybersecurity analyst, for doctors who prescribe medications with very difficult and complex names, because we're not machines, we're humans. And sometimes we make mistakes. We make spelling errors. And by programming it to learn language, these text editors are able to learn when there is a mistake made in our spelling and our grammar, and they immediately recommend a correction or they automatically correct it. We also have chatbots. I have seen them more frequently in bank applications or online stores. When we have customer service, before we speak to a human, we speak with a chatbot. We also have digital assistants. An example is Google Home, Alexa, and lastly, my favorite is digital payment. I'm going to be honest here. I hate going to the bank. Firstly, because the closest bank to where I live, it's not close at all. And it's so comfortable to be able to carry out almost any kind of transaction that you need to carry out from the comfort of our phone. We save time, we save money, we save physical and mental effort. With all of these examples, we can continue on with the next question. Artificial intelligence, is it our friend or our enemy? And here I would like to ask you to write in the chat, what do you think? Is it our friend or is it our enemy? My greatest friend, my friend, both. It depends on the use, both. Great. It's a double-edged sword. Perfect. Super enemy? That's harsh. It's interesting. Neither one. Artificial intelligence, as we mentioned, is a tool. So clearly, as you mentioned, it depends. It is a tool, and it can make life easier if we know how to use it. And here we can jump to the next question. Do we need previous experience in order to use it in our favor? So go ahead and make comments in the chat. Let's see what your opinions are. Sometimes we think that we need to be experts, that we need to take a whole bunch of courses. So what do you think? Do we need previous experience? Yes, yes. Not previous experience, but information. Okay, perfect. So those of you that said yes, I am sorry to tell you no. The answer to this question is that we do not need experience in order to use it. Fortunately, we do not live in an era of change. We live in a change of era. We have artificial intelligence in very friendly applications that are easy to use for anyone. So we're going to back that up with a practical case. The practical case is we're going to use ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been very popular over the past year, and why not? Why wouldn't it be? It is artificial intelligence. It's a chat bot that specializes in dialogue. So practically, what is this going to consist of? we're going to request a vocabulary from it. On what topic? I don't have any idea. After that, we're going to request examples from it. So from the vocabulary that it gives us, we're going to put together some sentences. And then we are going to request that it translate these examples for us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And what I'm doing here, you will see in a second. Can you tell me if you can see my browser? Yep. Perfectly. All right, thank you. Here I'm going to use Chrome, but you can use whatever browser you like. The process is the same. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to look for ChatGPT. And we are going to pick the first option from OpenAI. That's who developed it. A small parenthesis. If you would like to, you can follow along simultaneously and you will see how easy this is. So I click here, ChatGPT, and it's going to redirect us to the application. What do we have here? On the bottom, we have a dialog box. Like any messaging service, we write what we want to. Here we have the options of what we can request, its capabilities and its limitations. So if they're there, it's for a reason. First, it tells us it may occasionally generate incorrect information. That's its first limitation. On this topic, I want to remind you that artificial intelligence, in this case, ChatGPT, is a tool. It is not absolute truth. Please do not make it your Bible. It is just a tool like any other application, like a dictionary. Second, it tells us that it may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. I'm going to focus on the biased content part. It doesn't matter if we're talking about information about artificial intelligence or personal information, medical information, or the information of our grocery receipt. Any information that is incomplete can generate harm and many problems in the results, in the process of obtaining results. That's why it's important that all of the information that you provide to ChatGPT, have it be complete and useful. If that's not the case, remember that this is just a tool. It's a machine. It's also learning, and it can make mistakes. And lastly, with the events that have happened in the world after 2021, its knowledge is very limited. So these three limitations are some that are telling us right here, I can make a mistake. Don't trust fully in me. I am just a tool. So the first activity for this practical case is to request vocabulary. I don't know if I can see the participants because I would like somebody to participate. Somebody random. Natalia Villastrigo, are you here? Can you hear me? Yep, I'm here. Great, thanks. Okay, Natalia, we're going to request vocabulary on a topic that you like. Anything that you like. What topic would you like to ask vocabulary on? History, geography. I like geography a little bit more because history, it's going to tell us history of what country. So here I'm going to write it in Spanish, see that the application is in English. So two things will happen. You can write it in any language that exists online, and you can write it in any way. I'm going to write it like if I were writing to a friend. So give me vocabulary on geography. On medicine, we could also try on medicine right now. I'm going to say send message here on the green button, and you will see how it begins to generate vocabulary. If it starts to generate a very long list, we can stop the generation of content with this button. I think I'm going to tell it to stop right there, and it generated 17 terms. So these are nouns with their definitions. Now we are going to request examples. I'm going to ask it the same way that I would ask a friend. From this vocabulary, give me 10 examples. I say enter, and there we go. It starts generating these for us. As we can see, for the first one, it says continent, Africa is the second largest continent in the world. Here we have these 10 examples. We're not going to read all of them because we don't have time. But on first look, it looks like this is trustworthy information. So now we're going to ask for the translation of these examples. So we say, translate these examples into English, into French, into Portuguese, and into Dutch. I only speak English, so I'm not sure on the accuracy for this. But here we have people present that speak these languages, so they can tell us in the chat if this is correct. So you can see here, first it generated the examples, translated into English and then into French, and then into Portuguese. If you see, on some terms, it pauses, almost like it's hesitating, like it has to think about what it's saying. And here we have the Dutch. Perfect. And Jessica asks, does it allow for translation into sign language? I don't know, but we're here, so we can ask. Do you translate into sign language? And it says, unfortunately, I cannot provide translation into sign language through text. However, if you have access to an interpreter of sign language, you can provide them the text of the language that you prefer, and they will be able to translate it for you. So it's asking us to look for a real sign language interpreter. So we can see here how easy it can be. Oh, see, you say, yeah, we will continue having work. See, yeah. So this myth or this concern that artificial intelligence is going to end us, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. There are many studies. Right now, I don't have the sources that reveal the opposite. So you saw perfect. You see how easy it is to look for vocabulary. I think that maybe if you get a message saying, oh, are you free for the conference on thermodynamics tomorrow, and you don't know anything about thermodynamics tomorrow, it would be really easy to say, hey, give me some vocabulary on thermodynamics. And there we go. It generates it for us. So it's easy to look for vocabulary. The most interesting part is since ChatGPT is an application, an open code, open source app, anyone with access to ChatGPT is teaching it things. So when I make these requests, I'm teaching it to look for vocabulary on these topics, but also it can respond as if it were a real person. So it can start learning Mexican slang or different ways of speaking. So now that we've seen how easy and accessible artificial intelligence is, we can go on to the next topic. I'm going to close my browser. And here you guys can see my PowerPoint presentation as a presentation, correct? My fingerprint, and then I bury it under the ground in a location where only I am aware of. Even this way, my password would not be 100% secure. Why do you think this is? This is because absolutely everything has vulnerabilities. A vulnerability, a good analogy is a window that's slightly open in our house. If a criminal sees that the window is slightly open, they can finish pushing it all the way open, enter our house, and rob us. That's the analogy. That's how a hacker can attack. And speaking of hackers, we can go directly to the next question. Are hackers real or are they invented by Netflix? You can comment in the chat. Please, we ask that you close your microphones so that it doesn't interfere with our presentation. Hackers are very real. They are flesh and bones. Yes, hackers are as real as taxes, unfortunately. But it's something that can even give us hope. Hackers are divided into three groups. First, we have white hat or ethical hackers. These are like Jedis, honestly, to use some
So the
geek
hackers,
terminology.
the white hat hackers, and this type of hackers are in charge. They're in charge of increasing the security and to prevent cyber attacks, though their objectives are ethical or legitimate. And they have their counterpart that in this case, they are the malicious hackers or the black hat hackers. And these operate or work illegally. Their main objectives are to infiltrate into computers, to filter information, to damage systems, and to damage everything. And lastly, we have the gray hat hackers. So literally, these are like in between the other two. They are versatile. They are efficient. They are efficient as the last two, but their acts depend on their motivation. So may we continue to the next question, please? So malware is the same as a virus. Is a malware same as a virus? Because this is a word that we listen a lot, a virus. A virus is in a computer, but I haven't heard a lot the word malware. So is it the same? I love you participating on the chat. Many people are saying no, or others are saying perhaps. Okay, thank you for participating. Yes, malware, unfortunately, no, is not the same as a virus. So a malware is a software with malicious content, and a virus is a type of malware. So a type of malware. So yours, I'm saying, I am asked, it is not. So these are some of the malware types. We have the adware, spywares, ransomwares, crypto malware, and doors, backdoors, the logic bombs, trojans, worms, keyloggers, virus, and so many. We have as many viruses as we have diseases in the world. So I would like to make an emphasis to the ones that are more common based on the environment that you're working in, for example, as interpreters. So in this case are the ones that end with where, the words that virus names that end in where. So let us start with the adwords. As the prefix says, ad, those are the malwares that are found in this type of advertisement. So never ever click this advertisement. Please never click to them. So I don't know, it has happened to you, because it has happened to me when I started using the internet, that these are some pop-ups, these advertisements or pop-ups that say you are the winner, or because you're visitor number 1000 and whatever, you have earned $1 million. That is a lie. It is a trap. Instead of $1 million, you're going to have million malwares in your computer. So ever, never click to these pop-ups or advertisements, because the malwares that may be on the other side, on the other site, are going to depend on the imagination of the hacker. So this malware can be a spyware, as the same says, the word says, they are spying our information and they are registering our activity in our computer. Also, we have the ransomware that, like the name says, they hijack our computer in us, and it goes unsaid. You can imagine that the ransom asked to free our computer is a very high amount. We also have the crypto malwares that are the same that the ransomware, but in this case, the ransom has to be paid in crypto coins or bitcoins. So if you don't know about this, these bitcoins are decentralized assets. But just to give you a context, so far today, there's the value of a Bitcoin is about 15,000 Mexican pesos. So it's a lot of money, just one Bitcoin. And then we have the Trojan, that they are named so because of the Trojan horse. So they bring this they are hidden this, and when we open a file or we download a file, suddenly our computer is infected by these viruses. And then we have the keyloggers. The keyloggers are in fact a creation for the future. So a keylogger is a type of malware that registers and tracks how can I say this? To tracks how many times we type our keyboards, both physical as well digital in our mobile phones. This is to decipher or know our keywords. And then we have the famous viruses. Just as the biological viruses, they replicate in our computers as much as they can, and they can damage our information, our data, our files, and everything that is within our computer. So perhaps at this point, many of you are already thinking something like, it is not going to happen to me. And this only happens to famous people. I have nothing to hide, or in my life, there are no secrets, and so on. But unfortunately, I have to tell you that even though that we are the most responsible people that has no secrets that may exist in the whole world, we continue to have information. We continue to have an email. We continue to have medical insurance. We continue to have bank accounts. Perhaps we are subscribed to Netflix, for example. And at the end, it is an information that can be hacked. It is really important, as mentioned at the beginning, that we should be aware that we are at risk, because security is everybody's responsibility, because we have to be always careful. Because we don't know when we may have a hacker. So many attacks may come from anywhere. And that will lead us to the other question, basically, what is an attack vector? Basically, it is the path to access the objective, and the objective is us. So the types of attack vectors that are most common that I decided to present to you today, according to the working environments that you as an interpreters may be, are the emails, are the removable devices, the public networks, and physical access attacks. And why don't we start with emails? When it comes to emails, we have the threat of phishing and smishing. So on emails and text messages in our mobile phone. So I don't know so far any of you have received a call and they say, we have one of your family members and we want a ransom, but it was a lie because your family member was right beside of you. Well, that is a tactic, and social engineering tactic. Phishing and smishing are basically the same. It is to get our information based on deceits. So I would like to show you an example of an email of a supposed university that is saying to a university that his password is about to expire, and they need to click that he or she needs to click the link to update his or her password. As an additional note, if you receive this kind of email, please don't click any links. In this case, try to get in touch directly with the university or whichever institute the email may come from. So here we have a text message that it is from a deliverer, that it is it is a supposed deliverer that it is trying to change the date of the delivery. And here there's another link. Never ever click a link of something that you are not sure that it is legitimate. And we have the removable devices like the USBs, or for example, the wires and all other type of memory cards. So at the end of these devices, these are devices in order to keep information, to save files, to save videos, movies, and so. But malwares are also information. It is harmful information, bad information that still is information. So my recommendation is for you to have your very own USBs and your own wires, your own devices. And I'm going to sound as a parent. Please don't use any other type of device because if it's not yours. But for example, that wire used for an iPhone can be used to hack and to filter or to send a malware in a computer, and everything gets infected. And the next are the public network. What are public networks? Anyone here knows? Why don't you write it down, please? Please answer this question. Do you know what it is a public network? The message says networks without passwords. Thank you, Tanya, for your answer. I hope that you already know that you've noticed that whenever you go to a coffee shop of the supermarket, there is a possibility to connect to the internet, and there's a network without password. So please do not believe that the supermarkets or coffee shops are actually trying to rob your information, and they are presenting this kind of way to get you. But there are certain institutes or certain places for public networks that are used to compile information. Some companies use them to make statistics or market studies. However, hackers already know about these public networks. They know that wherever there is one, uh, there's going to be a person and there's going to be information, and therefore there's a risk to be hacked. But how does this happen? So we've said that a public network is a network without a password. Unlike the private networks that we have in our homes, that from a modem or a router, we need a password in order to connect to the internet, to the network. So where's the risk in a public network? How's the risk there? So the fact that it doesn't have a password is a layer of protection that you don't have. And from the app store in your mobile phone, there's going to be a possibility to see who is connected in the same network that you are connected to. There are apps that can allow us to see who are connected in the same networks that we're connected to. This is happening right now. This is not about the future, so be careful. The next time that you are in a place in which there is a public network, please don't connect to that. If you already did, please don't do bank transactions or use sensitive information or your identification or your passport. Try not to use that kind of information whenever you are connected. And we will continue now with the attack vectors. These are the physical ones, for example, assaults. So you may say, how is it possible that a hacker may have a gun? Let's think like this. We live in a time in which because of genetics, we like to share our information in the social media. Yes, this comes by default. For example, me, Sebastian, I'm going to share a photograph in which we are at a certain restaurant, that I made a certain purchase, that I buy some headphones, or that I am in the subway. Unfortunately, even though our account has a layer of protection, can be hacked. There is a capability to access our information still. So the risk is there. Once again, it is not science fiction. It is real. So try to imagine this. If I continue uploading pictures, videos, or tweets that I am at a certain place with a certain person, that I go to expensive places, that I buy expensive things, don't you actually think, and try to be honest about this, if you were hackers, wouldn't you say, there's something about this person, why don't we go and get him? So my recommendation is, try to be discreet, try to be as discreet as possible. Remember, even though we are not famous, even though we are not important people, still we're important. We can have the risk. So at this point, the webinar has been very dark. So let's see how we can protect ourselves. I want to present you a series of recommendations that we all can do. So the first is to keep our programs updated within the computer or with the mobile phone. We have to keep them updated. Why? Because they come directly from the vendor, whether it is Microsoft, Apple, Android, for example. So within these apps, there are some protection layers, security layers included, and it is like adding another lock to our home, for example. The next is to use strong passwords for each account that you have. I understand that suddenly there are apps that say you need to use 8 characters to create your password, but there are others that don't. For example, for Facebook, there's no limit for the characters, but as long as they are long and complex, there's lesser risk. Another advice is that your password has to be different from something that it is related to your personal life. So for example, let's not use your name. In my case, I could use my name Sebastian with 3 S's. But well, don't do that. So third, try to do the two-step authentication, the two-factor authentication. It is another layer for security. As long as you have a lot of layers, the better. So fourth, be careful with phishing. Try to be cautious if you receive a message or a suspicious email or from which you're not sure about. Please don't click anything. You can open the email, but please do not click any link. For example, if it is an Amazon email, you can read it, but please be careful and try to hire an antivirus and to update as much as it is requested or needed. So try to imagine at the kitchen that you're using a sever. For example, when you have some tuna and you take the oil with the strainer with the sieve, it is going in a way of given this example, you're just releasing what it is not that it is bad for you. So try to think of that way. Try to use some sort of sieve by buying an antivirus. The next recommendation is try not to connect to the public network. I've already explained why. Our information can be robbed, and information can be related to our most important assets. And if you already connect there, please do not do the bank transactions or do not use sensitive information. Next one, to download content from reliable sources. So some of you tend to download programs just because one of your hobbies is to design. Everything that you download has to be from the website of the vendor. Please do not go on YouTube and to find download for free any software. It is not that bad, but there's a risk. There's still a risk that the file that we're downloading has a virus. And number 8, continuous education, continues because it is really important because technology is moving forward every day. As in movies, we see the bad guys there. So the same happens in life. We need to keep ourselves um, improving when it comes to security. I use Chat GTP, but please, we have Google, we have this new technology. It is important to use it by asking, how can I protect myself from a cyber attack? So and information and knowledge, it's a click away. And the 9th is to not trust. Try to not trust, and especially the extremely good offerings. So try to not click the advertisement or the pop-ups. So for example, if you are told that you have won something, please ignore that. So yes. And number 10, which is in big green and in green. So you as interpreters go to different allocation and different events. Every time that you're not using your computer or you leave the computer, block it. Block your computer because we never know when there's a hacker within the room and we are at risk at every moment. So now we have finished with the recommendation. It has come the time to the questions and answers session. So please, why don't we raise our hand to see who Yes, why don't you raise your hands and then we will continue in that order, please. Sebastian, I have truly impressed. I'm speechless about your knowledge and above all the easiest way in which you the easy way in which you explain this, because for us the elder sometimes we don't know what we're doing, but but if but yes, thank you for that. And why don't we stop sharing your screen? So why don't we start now with the 3 questions that we can see on the chat, says Tanya. Sergio has a question. Chat GTP. So is it a problem when you download that? Is there a problem when you download this program? Because you're saying try not to download. So what happens with Chat GTP? Because I see that it is a very interesting and a splendid tool for our interpreters and translators. Mm, whenever you download any, in this case, if you download something from the vendor, the original vendor, the risk is lesser. But for example, if the FBI is hacked, the risk is always there. But as long as try to download everything from the official web page. In the case of ChatGTP, it doesn't have to be downloaded. It is an online app. It is within the cloud, so you wouldn't need to download it. And in that way, you are not overloading the memory of your device. Tanya, so can you continue with the questions, please? We do have some questions on the chats, but since we have Patty Janice, so she has a question. Why don't we continue with her question? Thank you, Tanya, says Patty. Sebastian, thank you so much for this conversation, for the explanation. So yes, I actually fell for one of these. I received an email about Netflix and I was asked to use my new information. I did it, and obviously I got yes, a problem in my credit card in that matter. So once that you're hacked, what can you do about it? Regarding money, it is a matter of talking with the bank regarding your information and your password. What you did or what you were victim is known as credential harvesting. In a way, they have your password, and the immediate recommendation is to change the password so you yourself can access your Netflix account. And if you cannot access, try to click on the button that says, I forgot my password. Why? Because when you change your password, it doesn't matter that the hacker has already changed it. But if you change it back again, the hacker has no access. So I don't know if it has happened to you. When you change your Facebook password, and you want to go back to your from your mobile phone, it says the password is changed. You cannot access. Use the new password. So the immediate antidote is to change your password. Yes. So thank you so much, Sebastian, says Tanya. I'm going to read you the questions from the chat. We will start with Esther regarding to connecting to the open networks. For example, we go and we work as interpreters in different sites, in different hotels, and oftentimes we connect to Wi-Fi from the hotel. How safe is this? What are your recommendations? Our security measures? Should we connect? Shouldn't we connect? Yes, if the hotel people give you the password, the risk is lesser greatly, because it is like you're using a lock, an extra lock. Now, if we want to protect ourselves, we can buy these antennas that are the USBs sold in Mexico. I'm pretty sure that on Telcel, they sell them. It is a paid internet. So that is a safer strategy. Okay, thank you. So I would like to add up to what you said, because now we are talking in a hybrid fashion. So if we continue working, do we take our laptop and should we connect to the network, and above all to connect to the platform that we're sent to, WebEx, whichever, independently of what we do. So there is something funny that I would like to ask you. One of my clients says, if you bring your laptop and it is Mac, we don't have problems. But if it is Windows, PC Windows, then we need to do a full review for viruses. I'm asking this question because this is something that can have an impact on everybody. Perhaps I'm pessimistic. The risk is always there. I If you were hired, try to connect through the Ethernet. The risk, once again, the risk is always there. Yes. I don't know that this is not an amiable answer, but it's what happens. Is there something that we can protect ourselves as Tanya? In this case, let's say the risk is always there, yes, but can they do something about to have a little bit of security? Yes, of course. When as many secure measures, I mean, that we can take, for example, we have the antivirus, for example, the Microsoft computers, they by default they have the Microsoft Defender, which is the made antivirus from the very vendor. I don't remember if Apple already has in their MacBooks the antivirus made by them, by the vendor. But still, if you can actually hire another antivirus, an additional one, it would be best. And the chat, there was a question whether the paid ones, regarding the paid ones are the best. So it is somehow it is important to hire the paid antivirus. There are several plans and you may choose which is the best for you, because for example, on the premium, it's an extra. It's something that is not necessarily according to the information that you manage. So now that we're talking about that, I'm aware that you as an interpreters, you suddenly use contracts or work on contracts. It is sensitive information. It is confidential information. So, and I would like to modify my previous answer, considering that circumstance, that scenario, try to find which is the best antivirus that it is adequate to your needs. So if it is the best that the vendor may offer, hire it, purchase it, or hire it, as long it matches your needs. So in this case, we are asked, does the VPN work? Yes, of course. What does a VPN works? It is a virtual private network. So what does this say to us? Basically, it hides us. Let's imagine on real life, if you have seen Harry Potter, imagine that we use the invisible cloak. So what the VPN does is to change the IP of our computer. This means that if I'm here in Mexico, the VPN can actually say that my computer is in Ireland or Portugal. There are free VPNs or paid VPNs. My recommendation is to use the ones that you have to pay for, but the VPNs work. They are pretty useful tools.
Thank you, Esther. Hello, Sebastian. Congratulations. I have a question that might be a little insisting. So if you have the same password to open your different accounts, how can you protect it? Do you write it on a piece of paper, or what do you recommend so that you can remember the different passwords that you have for different places? Okay, yeah. Look, the phrase that I wrote at the beginning of the presentation, if I write my password on a piece of paper and I uh, bury it under the earth or I have it in a submarine, the way it's not safe. The way that I manage my passwords, I'm going to tell you what I used to do, because if I tell you what I do now, then I would be giving you too much information. Good tactic there, Miss Fish. So what I used to do is there are password managers. Let me see. Give me 5 seconds and I'll show you. Yeah, that's one of the questions that we had in the Q&A. How trustworthy are password managers? Just give me one moment, because I don't know how to send a message here. At the top, you can choose meeting group chat and then it will send it to everyone. Or you can send it to me and I'll send it to everyone. Okay, yeah, I think I'll do that because I can't change it to send it just to you. Okay, KeyPass. KeyPass is the password manager, the most popular, the one that I've heard of the most because it's the most efficient. How does it work? So imagine that you have a safe and you put in your little piece of paper with all of your passwords on it and you put it in there. It works the same way. In order to access it, you have to have the master code. Here, you only have to remember the KeyPass or the password manager passcode. You don't have to remember your 15 passwords. So I have done this and it has worked for me. I hope that I answered your question in a satisfactory way. So if you have the same password for everything, is that bad? Yes, it's completely terrible. So let's just put ourselves in the shoes of a hacker. If I already hacked your Facebook account, for example, so imagine that my password is my name, Sebastian. The hacker has access to everything, absolutely everything. All right, so you guys, everybody, we all have to change our passwords, right? And we have to use a password manager now. So the little antennas that you told us about to connect online, do you know what they're called in case somebody wants to buy one? Yes, I'm going to send it to you in the chat as well. I'll send you a link from Mercado Libre where they sell these. Let me just look for the Amazon link for you as well. It's amazon.com.mx, but Amazon is global. There you go. All right, to follow up on passwords, somebody asked us, what do you think about using formulas to remember different passwords? What do you mean? I think it's easier to use a password manager. Alfonso Villasenor, I don't know if he wants to expand on his question a little bit. I think it's a little easier with the password manager that you mentioned. I was asking because I forget my passwords. And I had a problem many years ago using the same password for the different platforms that I use. So I opted to create passwords for different platforms using a formula or certain rules with particular elements to create passwords that are easy to remember for me. So I just follow the formula. And when I create a new password, I fill in the elements in this way. And that's how I have different passwords that are not shorter than 12 to 15 characters. But for me, it's easy to remember that way. That's a really good method. Just to start out my answer. The longer a password is, the better. And secondly, if we have a formula, is it like words? Like if my password is malware and I wrote malicious software. No, it's letters and numbers that might have to have something to do on with very personal thing or things or very particular things that are specific to me. For example, the first girlfriend that ever broke up with me, so I'll never forget her. So I can use that to incorporate it into my different passwords, for example. You're almost on the other side. You are kind of like in Valhalla. The only detail here would be that it's personal. Maybe only you know what your first grade teacher's name was, but it's still information that even though the risk is very small, it exists. But I think that this is a good strategy, more so because you're not using just letters. My first grade teacher, her name was Margarita. If you just wrote Margarita with 3 M's, with 4s, with 5 G's, with a hashtag, with a question mark, you're very well protected. You're not exempt from being hacked, but you're very well protected. That was a good question. Thank you. Something that is being mentioned as well is with a password manager, you have one password and that contains all of the other passwords. So what if your password manager is hacked? It's like opening Pandora's box. Yeah, then they would have all of your passwords, right? Yes, you do have that risk. Password managers, because they are password managers, they should have, through the provider, more security filters, but they are still capable of being hacked. So if they hack your password manager and you had all of your passwords there, I think that happened to Pati Yanez, change all of your passwords at that moment and stop using that password manager. Start creating a formula like Alfonso. Yes, it would be great to have the brain to do something like that. And now to talk a little bit about AI, and it has to do with cybersecurity still. Does a chat bot or chat GPT, how vulnerable are they, or how safe are they? How secure are they? Honestly, if I am completely honest with you, I think that everything can be hacked. This application, ChatGPT, let's call it something that exists, quote unquote, physically. It exists on servers. If that server is hacked, then that application is hacked. Yes, it can be hacked. What is the risk? We come back to confidentiality. For example, you are interpreters and I work for a private company. We all manage confidential information, secret information. We have to be very discreet and not tell ChatGPT, I'm doing a contract for this company with these numbers and they're creating a bomb, for example. Besides the fact that you are breaking your confidentiality agreement, you're filtering information. Remember that everything that we put into ChatGPT, all of the input goes into the cloud so that ChatGPT can learn. So I'm going to talk a lot about randomizing and confidentiality, et cetera, but it's possible for that information to go to somebody in another country, for example. If there's an interpreter today or anyone that manages confidential information, asks ChatGPT, I'm doing a contract for a company and it's in a multinational company. And then I search for something years in the future, boom, that information comes out. So yes, it's something that can be hacked. We have to be careful with confidentiality because remember that cybersecurity is the responsibility of everyone.
We also have a question. I don't know if there are artificial intelligence that are private, if it's better to buy it, if it's safer, how much better would be, and if you can give us in the chat the official web page for ChatGPT. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to give you the page. Number 2, there is artificial intelligence that is premium, and I'm going to send you the link. I recommend it, and if it's part of your needs, and if you only want to get it, it's perfect. What would be the additional characteristics of a paid AI? Like, for example, this is not text, but there's an app that is called Midjourney that is an AI that creates images. And I think also it creates videos, but you need to pay for it in order for the images and the videos to be yours legally. So maybe I'm going to give you an example. Maybe I want AI to write a book. I like to write. The book is not going to be mine. But maybe if I buy the license for AI, I can say, well, I have this license, I bought it, and according to the terms and conditions of this so-called company, the content is mine. Depends on our needs and what we prefer. If we want to hire AI, paid AI, I think here we have a little bit about what would you say about buying it. At the end of the day, you're buying the rights of what you're doing. But here, I think it's very relevant, the last question that was asked. I have more, but this is perfect. What do you think about the angle of the use of intellectual property that these tools of AI, because they use what we feed to learn, and often in the case of interpretation, they even use our interpreting and the human interpreting to learn to do interpreting from AI. I'm trying to structure my answer. What do you think about this point of view of the use of intellectual property? If I ask ChatGPT, make a poem, write a book or a song, I didn't do it. I only asked AI to do it. I find what I want to say, when I want to convey to you with this is we have many things in the world that can be used for good or evil, like nuclear energy. It will be up to us how to use it. AI can be used for good, maybe not for evil, but let's say for evil. Maybe I'm going to sound like a real geek, but I really recommend the first chapter of the last season of Black Mirror that talks about this. I give you a mini spoiler. It's an actress that did not read the terms and conditions of her contract, and AI is using her image and it's making her look really, really bad. So what do I think? Well, my answer is not, I think it's good, I think it's right, or wrong. I think we have to really study this. And I just going to say that everybody is responsible, and they have to be responsible in the use of AI. What I would do would be to use AI in favor of humankind without affecting anyone, without generating maybe any controversy or any prejudice, like you say. Yes, exactly. That's it. And there's a question about if there is an AI tool that you recommend besides Chat GPT, specifically because it has more reliable information that can be verified better, and AI also has hallucinations and sometimes makes up information. So I don't know if you have something to say in this respect. What other AI besides Chat GPT I would recommend? I have not used them. I have only used Chat GPT, but there's one, I'm going to write it. It's called copy.ai. There's another one that is Jasper. I'm going to write it in the chat as well. And there's another one, something like supersonic AI. Do you know Gabby? Gabby, do you know Gabby, like short for Gabriela? There's one that is called Gabby. I think I've heard about it, but I have never used it. At least I have never used it. I just sent you a copy AI, Jasper. Okay. We are very short in time. I want to give the floor to Birna, and then I'm going to go to the last question. Birna, thank you, Sebastian, for your presentation. It's really interesting. I would like to know, I know that you're a robotics engineer, and in my case, I'm an interpreter of Mexican Sign Language. So I know that AI has to be trained. We know currently that even sign language interpreter, we have seen avatars that are coming out mimicking sign language interpreting, and what is being used to do this, to make this type of avatars and to emulate an interpreters of sign language. However, sign language interpreter have this controversy because a sign language interpreter has to express with emotions, with just on the face, the message, how any robotics engineer, do you think that AI can be prepared and to get to a level where you start feeling that a programming language is there and that can really, and it can really affect the sign language interpreters? I would like to know your opinion. You were asking me, how much do you think that this would affect AI to achieve affecting us so much? There's something that I personally do not think that, and this belief hopefully should never change. The human factor. This cannot be replaced at any time, I don't think. I'm going to add to my answer an anecdote. A few years ago, I met a PhD student that was doing its research in social robotics. And basically it was the chat boxes. And it was the chat bots that were focused on the medicine, a person, you know, I'm a real person. I'd rather go to a human doctor than to a robot, because it's possible that the human doctor, it's more concerned about the results because it's human, it has empathy, and maybe he would say it, maybe he really, you know, goes around and around and around. The robot is going to tell us such as it is, but I want to hear it from a human. I don't have the answer, and I'd rather be with humans than with machines. The human factor, how much is it going to affect us? It's going to affect as much as the companies allow for it. If a company says, I don't want any more humans, I'm tired of it, let's hire just robots, then we're going to be affected. But I trust that if I prefer humans over robots, 1 million people would do it as well. So this is going to affect, and as much as the companies will do it. As complement to my answer, we should not stay behind. Just like say, a sign language interpreter, and I know how to move artificial intelligence, so I can control, and it's not difficult. There's a lot of information where to learn from. The internet is not simple, it's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's possible. So I hope that I answered your question correctly. Okay. I think this goes hand in hand with the last question that I want to ask as well, which is, what are the arguments that we can say? We can hear a lot of risks for translators and interpreters, AI that is going to replace us. And something that is extremely interesting, and the example that you're giving us is with the medical professional, I think is, you know, part of the problem that we have as interpreters and translators, that it cannot convey the human value that we contribute. And you're going to go to a human doctor and then to a robot doctor. How can we use like as a golden ticket, I'm contributing with this different from what a robot could be? I don't know if it's more, oh, I like to deal with people, you know. Yep. It's not, I like to deal with people most. Education, as I told Birna. And I'm just an interpreter, and maybe I don't have 1,000 databases in my brain, and I'm educated. I can show you that it's on AI, and you're interpreting me, and I'm moving my hands, I'm changing the tone of my voice, I'm laughing. And for those who are listening for interpreting in their own language, this is, I'm going to say nice, but it's nicer to see somebody that is real speaking. I'm going to give you a real example. Before being out of the race. Before I graduated, I worked at a call center for Sears USA, and I was in the complaints department. And I remember many customers that would say, "Hey," when I would pick up the phone, they said, "It's nice to hear a voice that is not robotic." And what do you answer? I have been listening to human voices all day, but it's so nice that you say that. That human connection. And I'm going to add something with the doctors with another brief anecdote. A few years ago, I was hospitalized because of a health issue. And I don't know if because of the medication or whatever, I got insomnia. And a nurse went to check me and started to talk to me. And he shared a story about when he was young. I had a good time. I still couldn't get to sleep, but it was a nice moment that really accompanied me during the hospital. I don't think a robot is gonna say, "Oh, I have memories with you." Well, maybe they have memories, but it's a robot. At the end of the day, this is a file that I'm going to get. For files, to look at files, I can download Netflix. I think I would take out of here that as interpreters and with everything that you have shared with us, as interpreters and translators, what we can contribute with is this sense, this warmth, how natural everything is, and to learn how to use AI tools. I have this, I'm going to add, I'm going to join, but to add and to learn how to do things easily, and this can be easier and better. AI and technology can save lives if we use it with responsibility. Somebody in the chat is saying that the doctors that use cyberknife are not less than the ones that use a real knife. No, these people learn. They took on the responsibility and to make them mastered to do something good for humankind. So at the end of the day, if by bad luck, the internet technology died today, right now, then what are we going to do? It doesn't matter how many changes we have in the world. We as human beings continue being human. We continue having feelings. We continue having emotions. We are still intelligent. We still love each other, right? I'm really concerned about underscoring this. At the end of the day, we're also people. It doesn't matter how much technology we have, we're still people. Yes, that's the human side to continue learning, and that's why we're here today. We thank you so much, Sebastian, for your presentation, for all the information that you have shared, for answering all these questions that we asked. And now I give the floor to Sergio so we can thank. We have more questions than answers. I think we could spend the night asking questions. I had one that having a Facebook profile, how much information is there in Facebook about you? These are really big things, and everything that comes out, if you like something in kittens, is going to take you to all the information about kittens. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. Somebody young and colleague, and I want to give the floor before we leave to two people. One is the person who made it possible for this meeting to take place, because I was looking for a millennial, I was looking for a robotics engineer, and you know, I couldn't understand. And out of 4724 5G with 34.7 blah, 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 and you don't get anything. And you have given us a real class explaining. And it has been wonderful for us. Monica, can you turn your camera on, please? Hello. I don't see you, Monica. Are you there? I'm next to Sebastian. This woman made it possible to have this conference because of two reasons. First, because Sebastian is Monica's son. So she made him, and she didn't make him with AI. We were at a meeting and I said, I need somebody to talk about this. And she said, oh, okay, very quickly. And Mónica, please.
Mónica, muchas gracias. Cuéntanos un poco sobre cómo fue que llevaste a este hombre a hacer esto maravilloso. Claro, una de las cosas que no saben es que Mónica es intérprete simultáneo, pero también es ingeniero agrónomo. Entonces, bueno, y viene de un padre ingeniero y de una madre intérprete. Entonces, quería yo presentarte nada más para darte las gracias de que nos hayas conseguido esta maravilla de seminario con Sebastián.
No, pues gracias a ti, pues ya sabes, al escuchar a los jóvenes uno escucha pues todo lo nuevo, ¿no? Todos los que tenemos algún joven en casa estamos al tanto de la última tecnología y pues él ha salido muy bueno, salió muy bueno.
Pues te felicito, muchas gracias. Y ahora quiero darle la palabra a alguien más, que es, voy a cambiar a inglés, perdón, para los intérpretes, voy a hablar en inglés. We have with us today our president from FIT North America, Alan Melby. Mr. President, I'm so happy you're here with us. And I want to thank you for the comment you sent me over WhatsApp, in which you said, and I literally quote you, another wonderful webinar. How do you keep on finding such excellent presenters? And so, Alan, are you still there? I think he's gone. Well, anyway, creo que ya se nos fue Alan Melby, but to the very end next time. Entonces, creo que ya se fue. Alan, are you still there? Creo que no, ¿verdad? Bueno, creo que es momento de cerrar y agradecer a Sebastián y a Mónica por este maravilloso seminario que hemos tenido, este webinar, que para mí me ha abierto los ojos en miles de cosas y creo que a todos una cantidad de público que participó, más las preguntas, más los que estuvieron entrando y saliendo y todos los que dicen, no puedo entrar, ¿dónde lo van a poner? Entonces, el comercial de Tania es, ¿dónde se va a ver?
Vamos a tener la grabación disponible. La pueden encontrar en el canal de YouTube bueno, la van a poder ver en el canal de YouTube del Colegio Mexicano de Intérpretes de Conferencias o en la página de Facebook también.
En todos los idiomas en que tuvimos interpretación.
Sí, exactamente.
Pues les agradecemos y Sebastián, ¿te puedo hacer una petición?
Sí, claro. Sí, dime.
Que si en el futuro seguimos teniendo, porque esto va a suscitar muchas preguntas. En el momento en que lo subamos a nuestro canal y que sigan viendo, podemos enviarte las preguntas y las podemos ir contestando.
Sí, por supuesto. De hecho, mi correo ya lo envié al chat. Lo voy a volver a enviar porque, a ver, ahí va.
Tania,
lo podrías poner en el chat, por favor. Gracias. Porque yo sé que a lo mejor a ustedes ahorita no tienen... Uy, estaba escuchando la interpretación de alguien. A lo mejor ahorita no tienen las preguntas, ¿no? Pero quizá en un rato o mañana o pasado mañana surgen las preguntas. Entonces, siéntanse con la confianza, de verdad, no pasa nada, de enviarme las preguntas a mi correo electrónico y digo, en la medida de lo posible, se las iré contestando. porque pues sí, vaya, todos estamos aprendiendo. Yo soy el primero en decir que mientras más aprendo, más me doy cuenta de lo que no sé. Y pues es importante que compartamos el conocimiento y mientras menos sesgos existan, mejor, una vida más feliz, totalmente.
Aprovechando, me gustaría,
déjame
perdón,
aprovechar
Sergio.
que acabo de ver que entró,
Ernesto
no lo había
Zavala, the
visto,
president
Ernesto
of the
Zavala,
Mexican
nuestro presidente
Association
del
of
Colegio
Conference
Mexicano de
Interpreters,
Intérpretes
is
de
with us.
Conferencia.
Can
Ernesto,
you,
despídenos, por favor.
hello,
Hola, ¿qué tal?
how are you?
Hola Ernesto, ¿cómo estás?
¿Cómo están?
We were
Bueno, pues aquí estuvimos escuchando muy
just
atentamente
listening
Irma y yo mientras estábamos
while we were on a
en
break because we're
descanso, porque
working.
de hecho estamos trabajando ahorita, pero
I
estuve
saw
viendo la
on the,
conversación en las partes que pude
some of the parts and it was
y
really
pues estuvo
interesting.
muy interesante. Al
At the
principio se me
beginning, I
hizo
think it was
muy
great
bueno cómo
how you
empezaron de
started
la parte
from the basic,
básica
and
y
now we
pues ya
started
ahorita
talking
empezamos a hablar ya
about more
del tema
about
que es la
AI and
inteligencia
how
artificial, que sí está todavía,
this,
pues todavía no sabemos
the
cuáles son
effects
los
that it's going to
efectos que va a
happen. I
tener,
want to
pero
thank
yo quiero agradecerle muchísimo al grupo de
the group
CEMIC
of
FIT
CEMIC
Norteamérica
North
por este
America
esfuerzo que hicieron,
because
porque sí,
there's so many
sí hay muchas
questions
dudas
that
que hay
we
que
still have.
esclarecer todavía.
And to you,
Y a
Sebastián,
ti
particularly
especialmente,
for your
Sebastián, por la
help
ayuda que nos
to
das
better
a
understand,
entender
as you
mejor y
say
como dices tú
perfectly well,
perfectamente
the more
bien,
we know,
entre más
more questions
sabemos,
we
más
have.
dudas nos salen, ¿no?
So
Entonces,
we,
Sí.
tenemos que, yo creo que
I think we should have
amerita
another
una segunda
session
sesión
because
porque
there's
sí,
so many questions
quedaron
up in the
muchas
air,
dudas al aire,
particularly, I
particularmente,
have many
pues de mi
questions and
parte
I think a
muchas,
lot of
y
the
creo que de
attendees
todos los que estuvieron aquí
listening and
disfrutando de
enjoying
su
your
plática tan amena.
presentation.
Así
Thank you,
que les
everyone
agradezco a
who
todos
have been
los que
here.
entraron
We
aquí.
had a big
Fuimos
group, as always.
muchísimos, como
Thanks
Sí.
to
siempre,
Sergio
gracias
and
a Sergio y a
Tania,
todo el
everyone,
grupo, a Tania, a
for
todos
their effort.
por el esfuerzo tan grande que hicieron para conjuntar a todas estas personas
And
tan
everybody that is
interesadas en este tema. Y
interested in
gracias una
this
vez más
topic.
a ti, Sebastián.
Thank you,
Que estén muy bien
Sebastián,
todos.
and have
Gracias,
a good night,
Ernesto.
everyone.
Cuídate, Ernesto.
Gracias.
Hasta
Antes de
luego.
irnos, no quiero más.
I don't want
Lo que quiero es que no se nos
to
olvide mencionar a los intérpretes. Eso es
No,
lo que
claro. Queremos agradecer a nuestros intérpretes de inglés, Jocelyn Pastrana, Lorena de la Vega y Lorena del Rincón.
Además,
En
Lorena
Francia,
Rincón también es parte del equipo.
es parte de nosotros.
De nosotros tres, junto con Mónica.
En francés tuvimos a Fernando Olvera y a Mariana Boatwright, y en portugués a Marcel de Sousa y a Gaby Cleffi. Y tuvimos también interpretación de lengua de señas mexicana con Ana Cristina Lobo Barrón, Dalia Solís Montes de Oca, Yael Caneda y Angélica Gudiño. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Dos cosas más. Quiero agradecer a Daniel Maya, que
the
son
group that
toda la
he
gente que él nos
got
proporcionó
for
de su
us
equipo
from his
de
team of
lengua de
Mexican Sign
señas
Language. And I
mexicana.
want to
Y
say
quiero
that
hacer
Marcel
patente que
de Sousa
Marcel
is
de
in
Sousa
Brasilia,
está en
and he's
Brasilia y
always willing to
siempre
work
está
with
puesto
us
para
and help
trabajar con
us. I
nosotros.
also want to
Agradezco
give a
también
big
enormemente
thanks
a
to
toda la
FIT North
gente de FIT
America,
Norteamérica,
FIT
pero también a la
Latam,
gente de
that
FIT Latam,
joined
que
us,
se nos unió,
Acotipa in
la
Costa
gente de
Rica, in
Acotipa en Costa
Venezuela, in
Rica, en
Brazil, in
Venezuela, en
Colombia,
Brasil,
Ecuador,
en
Dominican
Colombia, en
Republic,
Ecuador, República
Cuba, and
Dominicana,
all the
Cuba,
different
todos
countries
los
that are
países hermanos de habla
Spanish
parlante,
speaking
de habla
that
hispanoparlante
joined us.
estuvieron aquí con
Thank you.
nosotros.
You
Muchísimas
know that
gracias. Recuerden
Mexico,
que
CEMIC,
México, el
and FIT
CEMIC
North
y FIT
America, we
Norteamérica
are
somos hermanos en
together.
todo
We're
lo
brothers
que
and
nos
sisters, and
sirve
we
para
should
mejorar la
join
profesión.
our
Y
efforts.
con
With
esto
this, we
decimos
say good
buenas
night.
noches.
Thank you.